Welcome back, fans, to the ECHL Insider. I am your host, Garrett Hunter, excited to talk the ECHL playoff picture with you right after we get you some scores from last week. The Cincinnati Cyclones got dominated on Friday night by the South Carolina Stingrays. The Stingrays won that one 11-0. What a dominant performance, but it didn't stop there for the Stingrays. They beat the Comets on Saturday night in Fort Wayne by a score of 3-0. And then on Sunday afternoon, they went to the Huntington Center and beat the Toledo Walleye by a score of 4-1. This impressive weekend from the Stingrays also got them a playoff spot clinched in the South Division. Also, the Kansas City Mavericks went into the Idaho Central Arena, won 1 game out of 3 last week, and they snapped a 16-home game winning streak for the Idaho Steelheads with a 3-2 score on Friday. But don't worry, Steelheads fans, the 1-0 victory on Saturday night got the Brabham Cup to come on out on the ice. They were able to win the Brabham Cup, the regular season champion, the Idaho Steelheads. That was announced on Saturday night. And finally, the Norfolk Admirals was able to steal a game from the Newfoundland Growlers by a 4-0 score. Norfolk, obviously no playoffs for you this year, but still an impressive win over the Newfoundland Growlers by a score of 4-0. So in front of me, the 3 pucks, these 3 teams clinched a playoff spot last week. The Fort Wayne Comets locked up the 4th and final playoff spot in the Central Division. South Carolina Stingrays, you guys got the only playoff clinching situation right now in the South Division. 3 more teams to follow the South Carolina Stingrays. And finally, the Maine Mariners got the 3rd playoff spot in the North Division as of right now. 1 more spot still to be clinched in the North. Let's get you now to the top 5 games of the week. Still very close in the South and Mountain Division, especially the Mountain Division. 3 teams all tied at 68 points. So we'll start there. The Utah Grizzlies and the Idaho Steelheads, a 3-game series. These are important points for the Utah Grizzlies to pick up, but obviously the best team in the league right now, the Idaho Steelheads. So it will be a big challenge for these Grizzlies. 2 games in Idaho. That Saturday night game in the Maverick Center for the Utah Grizzlies at home. Big points for the Grizzlies trying to get into the top 4 in the Mountain Division. Let's go to the South Division now. The Jacksonville Icemen taking on the Florida Everblades on Wednesday night down in Estero. 2 teams battling for a playoff position in the South Division. Florida and Jacksonville, big rivalry in the Sunshine State. This should be a big thriller on Wednesday night. And number 3, the Atlanta Gladiators will play the Jacksonville Icemen Friday and Saturday in the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena in Jacksonville, Florida. Atlanta trying to sneak into the top 4 right now in that South Division. Jacksonville, one of the teams they're chasing in the South Division. So a big 2 games for the Atlanta Gladiators. And the number 2 game of the week on Saturday night in Worcester, Massachusetts, the Adirondack Thunder and the Worcester Railers. These 2 teams will battle it out now for the 4th and final playoff spot in that North Division. Huge game for the Adirondack Thunder. They've made up a lot of points over the last few weeks against the Railers. 1 more game this week to try to close that gap against the Railers. They'll also play them 2 more games later on in the season, but big game right now for the Thunder trying to get into the top 4 of that North Division. And the number 1 game of the week, obviously the North Division, 3 teams, as I mentioned earlier, with 68 points. That's the Utah Grizzlies, the Wichita Thunder, and the Kansas City Mavericks. The Rapid City Rush are in 6th place right now with 66 points, but sitting only 2 points down from that 4th place. So that brings us to the number 1 game of the week. Obviously, the Rapid City Rush taking on the Wichita Thunder Thursday and Friday. If these 2 games are won by Rapid City, they would jump Wichita and make it into 4th place in that Mountain Division. So huge 2 games for the Rush this week as they look to clinch yet another playoff victory. We will see you next week for the final week of the regular season. Make sure to subscribe to our channel below, and we'll see you next week.
Well, Skirving, he is down in a heap, and the arm is raised as we get a little extra this time around. Kubicek, he's going to go with Blatchman. Simon Kubicek. More of a wrestling match here so far. Blatchman tries to get loose. Kubicek trying to do the same. Blatchman has the left free. Kubicek, neither one of them really landing much. You got to call that one a draw here. As Blatchman tries to get the crowd going here with 8:35 left. Aren't you supposed to showboat if you win the fight, though?